Hello, my name's Mary.
And I'm Luke.
And this is Totally Schway Flipside, a podcast about anything I want it to be about.
It is, but we're currently working our way through X-Men 97, aren't we?
Yeah, we're actually talking about the last 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm. The story Tolerance is Extinction. There we go.
How are you doing, Luke?
Generally okay.
You excited for anything?
You is that your little segue for me to talk about a little piece of news that relates to this podcast in a way?
Yeah, I'm feeling silly today.
Okay, all right, I'll do the talking.
And panicky, but we'll go with silly.
Okay, so, as you know, we're finishing off X-Men today. Mm-hmm. We're going to move on to a different topic next time in 2 weeks. However, what you may be aware of, or you may not be, but in between these 2 episodes, a new Batman show is starting called Batman Cape Crusader. In fact, starting on the 1st of August, which is what, when this goes out, 5 days away? Well, I have been super fortunate in that I was added to Amazon's press screener for Cape Crusader. So,
look at you.
Yeah, I know. Senpai noticed me. Thank you, George Bezos. He's got nothing to do with it. I don't even know if his first name is George. It's not. It's Jeff Bezos. Look, what a terrible Amazon fanboy I am. They're going to revoke my credentials.
We love Amazon. That's amazon.co.uk or amazon.com.
They haven't sponsored this podcast, no.
But if you want to.
Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, anyway, so I've seen the whole thing. I've seen all of Cape Crusader. I saw it nearly a week ago. And I'm doing a video review on Monday, the 29th of July, 3 p.m. UK time, which is 10 a.m. Eastern and 7 a.m. Pacific.
I was about to I could probably tell you what Oklahoma time was, but the other two, I don't know.
Oklahoma's what, 8 a.m.?
Something like that.
Something like that, or 9 a.m. Doesn't matter. Anyway, that's when the video is going to go live. That's when we're going to do most of the talking. Now, the social media style embargo's lifted, so I think it's okay for me to say it's good. But check out my video for more information. But how does that relate to this podcast? Well, yes.
I was gonna say, can I say this? As if you're not fed up of our voices as it is, we are going to do 10 episodes of Totally Schway Flipside, and we are going to put them all out on what day?
1st of August.
The 1st of August, the day that it comes out.
Yep. So these are going to be massive spoiler-filled conversations. Yeah. Don't listen to them unless you've actually seen the show or you have no intention of ever watching the show.
Yeah.
And feel free to join in the conversation and share your opinions about these episodes there. So it's 1 podcast episode per episode of the show, and they're all dropping on the same day so that we don't spend the next 6 months just talking about Cape Crusader.
Or have a 10-hour-long episode.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to be honest, knowing Luke, love him to pieces, obviously married him, but he could talk about these episodes for like 2-3 hours at a time. So
maybe
it would be a very long episode. So I think cutting them to 10 episodes, I'm not saying that they're smaller, is going to not only help us record them, but also save me time in the long run.
Yeah. And you get more content for nothing.
And you guys, if you want to watch it in the background of the things that you're doing when you're doing things, that would be great.
Yeah.
I get my content time up.
Yeah, well, you know what you could do as well.
I'm not begging, am I? Totally not.
Well, what you could do is you could watch the episode and then listen to the podcast. Do you remember how, like, almost every popular show had, like, a show that was just a bunch of people sitting around talking about what had happened in the latest episode? Like, Talk the Walking Dead. Chris Hemsworth.
No, Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hardwick, that was it. Not Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hardwick plays Thor, yeah.
I could imagine it.
I can't.
It's a very smaller Thor.
But yeah, anyway, we'll get to what our next proper episode of Totally Schway is going to be about after we've talked about this.
But we are going to start talking about episode 8 of X-Men 97.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to cover 8, 9, and 10.
Well, yeah, but we're going to start with that one.
Okay.
Thoughts?
So, this 3-part finale I thought was excellent.
Yes.
I thought it was very thought-provoking. And once again, I find myself mostly agreeing with Magneto, which is maybe not so good, but I kind of do agree with him.
Yeah, I'm just not the biggest fan of Bastion.
No, me neither.
I think I might have mentioned that before, but I'm not a big fan of his. This is the storyline other than the Storm, it should have been one episode type thing, or the game one, that I did not care for it. I understand why it's there, but the actual main storyline itself, where the humans are turned into sentinels and all of that, I don't love that. I love some parts of the episode, though.
Yeah, I mean, the whole turning humans into sentinels thing is obviously a big metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah,
because,
of course.
You know, once you start aligning yourself with these extreme views, it overtakes you and like becomes your whole personality. And they continue to like.
Wait, you just blew my mind. I'm joking.
No, they continue to queer code Bastion quite a lot because he keeps Magneto tied up in little pants. And it's like, come on, man, at least give him some trousers.
This is not the X-Men we grew up with, and I'm happy about that. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy about that. It just could have been any other character other than Bastion.
Yeah, I mean, I would have quite liked if it was Cassandra Nova.
Was that only because you've just seen something?
No, well, that's who was behind the massacre of the Genosians in the comics. It was Cassandra Nova. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think Bastion was okay, you know, and he wasn't like a moustache twirling, evil, racist villain. Yeah, the thing with him is he is like a perfect example of like the convoluted X-Men continuity. So he was the result of right, here we go. So Nimrod in an older episode of X-Men the animated series, I think it was a 2-part called One Man's Worth. Nimrod goes back in time to try and kill Professor X. Nimrod is like this ultimate sentinel from the future. Oh my god, I'm already just like going, oh Jesus Christ. But so he goes back in time to try and kill Professor X. Wolverine and Storm, or a version of them, go back in time with Bishop to save Professor X, and they destroy Nimrod.
Yeah, word.
Now Nimrod is kind of like a sentient nanomachine type thing, and this episode of X-Men 97 reveals that he had integrated with the janitor of a school nearby where he was destroyed, and basically implanted his Sentinel DNA inside of the janitor. So when he had a child, the child essentially had 3 parents.
Do you want to know what this kind of sounds like? It's got similarities to Terry McGinnis.
Oh, don't remind me of poor Warren McGinnis's balls.
Yeah, do you see what I mean?
A little bit.
Obviously, they were different times, different companies, but it just kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. I hope everyone knows what we're talking about. But anyway, so Bastion is kind of a mutant, but he's a mutant because he's got the Sentinel artificial DNA in him, not because he's got the X gene. But they reveal that Professor X came to take him anyway and said, look, I'll take him to my school and I will teach him to use his powers responsibly.
Because he's a great guy.
Because he is a mutant. He may not be like a mutant gene mutant, but he is still a mutant.
Biological mutant, right?
Yeah. And his mother refused to acknowledge it. She refused to accept him for who he was and slammed the door in Professor X's face. Now, again, another reason why Bastion is kind of queer-coded, because parents are not always accepting of who their children are.
Yeah, which is sad.
Yeah. But I guess Bastion kind of gets his own back because he turns his own mother into a sentinel. I mean, it seems like there's thousands of them, and they are causing havoc across the entire US. We get lots of cameos from different Marvel heroes throughout this.
Oh, Captain America.
Yeah, and we've seen Captain America. Later
I thought you were
on,
going to talk about the whole season and whatnot.
Oh yeah, I mean later on you get Daredevil, Spider-Man in this episode. Iron Man shows up. The Cloak and Dagger. There are others. You wanted to say something?
I'm going to say this, like the whole episode we're going to be talking about it. It's Bastion.
Yeah, I really don't like him.
There were so many there are so many wonderful characters from the X-Men comics that I don't know too much about, but in my opinion, they're far more interesting. And I don't know if the performance of Bastion was great.
Yeah.
The person who voiced Bastion, wonderful. But
Even the writing was good.
Yeah.
The writing was good.
But it's just that particular... There are just some times when you watch a TV show or a movie where you just don't care for the character. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if it's because I just didn't know much about Bastion before, or that I just decided right away that I did not like that character.
Yeah, there was one thing that I kind of liked. So when Bastion's taking Dr. Cooper around his facility and shows her Magneto tied up in his pants, you see he's got a big wall of TV monitors where he's been speaking with world leaders. And like the UN was supposed to be accepting Genosha into their organization.
Yeah.
But it seems like the UN sanctioned this attack on Genosha. So even though on the surface they were saying, oh yeah, cool, let's bring the mutants on board, that's wonderful. Behind closed doors they were saying, we need to do something about this mutant problem.
That could be one of the reasons I decided to just dislike this character, is because all of the negative things that come around this character, I don't like it, and that could make me not like the character. I've disliked a character for less.
Shall we talk very quickly about a character that comes off very well in this episode?
If you like.
So it's Nightcrawler.
Ooh, we love Nightcrawler.
Yeah, so Nightcrawler, he's had lots of nice talky scenes.
Mm-hmm.
He delivered the service at Gambit's funeral.
Oh, God, that was beautiful.
And obviously he had that lovely line with Gambit. He says, what is love without sin?
Yeah.
But Nightcrawler kind of gets the opportunity to show that he's not just a talker, he's a fighter as well. Mm-hmm. So when all the Sentinels turn up at the mansion, he's fighting them with swords. He had 3 swords at one point? He had one in each set of hands and one on his tail.
I think so. Or like a dagger or something in his
Yeah, they were
tail.
like fencing swords, but
yeah.
he was like chopping up the Sentinels. And speaking of chopping up Sentinels...
Ooh, you're going to use the word that you used with me earlier, or use the phrase... Say cut loose.
Oh yeah, Wolverine gets to cut loose at last.
Yes.
Because he hasn't really done much in this show so far. But when the Sentinels turn up at his house, he slices them all into little tiny pieces.
I loved that for a number of reasons. 1, pretty badass. 2, you can see that Wolverine is a protector.
Yeah.
And 3, you can see the aftermath of what he did. As in, like, the aftermath concerning his emotions.
Yeah.
And it's... Although this is a fictional show and everything, it's human to feel guilt. And, well, guilt...
Yeah, he didn't feel guilt.
I don't think it's guilt, actually. It's... I don't know if it's because... Because in a sense, I think he would feel guilty for, doing something like that if they were real people.
Well, they still were people.
Yeah, but... I don't know. Maybe guilt's the wrong word.
Yeah, because you remember when, what's her name, Trish Tilby comes in
Yeah.
and she acts like she's there to apologise to Beast.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, she is a Sentinel.
Yeah.
And she turns into the Sentinel.
That's the thing. He could feel guilty because those people are actually, like, dead.
I don't know if it's guilt, but I think it's more just like he's a bit weary. He's like,
Yeah.
I've got to do this again.
Again.
Yeah.
I gotta be Wolverine. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, maybe guilt, maybe weary, maybe a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Still no Gambit.
No, he's gone.
I know. Ooh, can I say this?
Oh, yes. So, go on then.
Roberto gets colored. And I'm not talking... no, I'm not going to fish that.
I mean, he might.
Well, I mean, it might be fun.
Yeah, but it was very sad because his mother was holding a fundraiser for the poor Genosians, looking like a big advocate for mutants. Mm-hmm. When Roberto comes smashing in through a window, being chased by these new Sentinels with Jubilee.
Yeah.
And he says, "Mum, they're trying to kill me." And they say, "No, we're just trying to apprehend him." And she hands him over to them.
Yeah.
And they get their powers taken away with the collars and led out. And he's just... The look of betrayal on his face.
Oh, the thing is, you've seen that in real life. That I've no idea what magic they use to actually be able to get that look. But, you see that so much in real life. Because, apparently we disappoint people for just being who we are.
Yeah.
Things we can't change.
Yeah.
We shouldn't change.
Yeah. And it's the hypocrisy of it as well. Like she thinks that she can make her intolerance is excusable because she raises money for them. Like money actually means something more than actions, you know?
Money runs out.
Yeah, I mean, money can only get you so far. You know, maybe far enough for some people, but it's really her actions when push comes to shove really tells you what she actually thinks about the people she supposedly cares so deeply for.
It's what your heart says that means something.
Yeah.
And that this character's heart was just gross.
Yeah.
Like, how could you hand over your own son? Like, if I had a son Roberto's age, let's be honest, Luke, if I had a son that told me he was mutant or if he was gay, I would be like, yes, I have always loved both. Please show me your powers. You know what I mean? Like, I would be ecstatic. Yeah. And I think at any point in my life, I would have been ecstatic. And it sucks that there are people in the real world that are just so shitty and don't see, like, their sons, daughters, their non-binary kids as humans and love them for who they are. Mm-hmm. And what they are. Come on, let's say that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And I'll get off this TED Talk now. Not really.
So I suppose to end the talk on episode 8, so Dr. Cooper lets Magneto out. Mm-hmm. And his response is he flies up to presumably the North Pole, and he puts out an electromagnetic pulse that basically takes away all electricity, all technology, essentially plunging the world into darkness. And that's how he takes out the Sentinels that are rounding up mutants and killing them across the world. Mm-hmm. And that's actually a fairly elegant solution. Because if they can't be trusted with their toys, then you need to take them away.
If babies keep throwing their toys out of the stroller, you have to take them away.
And I think it's quite fitting in a way that Magneto reconstitutes Asteroid M and just leaves the planet and goes and watches them from on high. Mm-hmm. I'm reminded of the scene from the second episode where he takes the jury, the judges.
Yes, that's the only thing I was thinking about just now.
And he shows them the Earth from the atmosphere, the upper parts of the atmosphere, and says, look how big it is and how small we try to make it. Let's look at the big picture. And I suppose at this point he has decided that he's going to look at the big picture and he's going to ignore all of the small people. Mm-hmm. All of the people trying to make things small.
Yeah. I love the portrayal of Magneto in this series. It's probably my favorite thing about this series. Because you get why he does the things that he does.
Yeah.
And you see in the next couple of episodes why he is the way that he is. And a lot of it is disappointment in humanity. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us, again, honesty is the best policy here, but a lot of us, if we were in that situation, would feel the same way. And you feel something for this character that you kind of feel bad for feeling that this is a great character because of all of these things. But in a way that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you would do the same thing. Or some of us would do the same thing.
The irony is it's a very human response.
Yeah, it is. And I love how it's on Disney Plus. I mean, I can't get over that. Because this is not the 90s cartoon that we grew up watching. It is a little bit more adult. Even though the 90s cartoon was kind of adult in terms of some of the themes, even though it was masked over, being a mutant and stuff like that. Yeah. This, it kind of goes that little bit further. And I think it did it perfectly. And I hope in the next season they go just a little bit further.
Well,
Yeah, let's go on to to episode 9.
Yeah, on to episode 9. So, okay, the world is in chaos, basically, because Magneto's taken away all of our electrical devices. People are, like, protesting outside the X-Men and going, give us back the electricity, blah, blah, blah. They chase down Roberto and Jubilee in the street as well, don't they? And that's when Storm and Forge return to save their butts.
They're like, hello, we're here.
So this is when everybody starts coming back together. Oh, we forgot to mention that Professor X had come back by this point, didn't we?
Yeah.
Whoops. Professor X came back as well, yeah. So all of the X-Men are there together trying to come up with a plan. And I think probably one of the most significant scenes is when Magneto joins them with a proposal of his own. And it's a really very visually striking scene because his asteroid base comes through the atmosphere and it's hovering above the X-Mansion. And it's causing like an aurora borealis and storms and lightning. And Magneto floats down to them. And he hovers above them. He never puts his feet on the ground, almost like he's fed up of this. What does he call it? He called it like a pigsty planet.
Something like that,
He's not going to sully himself by touching it. But his offer is for the X-Men to join him and try things his way. Because he had tried things Professor X's way. And look what happened. Now it was their turn to try things his way.
Yeah.
And I really liked the imagery of Rogue standing there wearing Gambit's coat. And then she takes it off, folds it up, gives it to Professor X, and leaves with Magneto.
Yeah.
And that just it got me in the feels. All right, it got me square in the feels.
It got me back in the 2013 lingo.
Yeah, and Roberto joins them as well because he's deeply wounded by the betrayal from his mother.
I kind of saw that coming, but I was still surprised by it. I don't know why. I saw it coming, but I was surprised.
Yeah, and there was a line from Magneto that always makes me well up a little bit, where he says to Professor X, Professor X says, "Please, we've got to give them another chance. We've got to try." He says, "You weren't there on Genosha. I had to look a young boy in the eye who was deathly afraid and watch his eyes burn out from inside his skull, all because he believed in me."
Yeah, and I think he said, "A boy I promised."
Yes, promised to never be afraid again.
Yeah.
And he watched the terror in his eyes as he burned to death.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Leech. Oh, Leech. No, not Leech.
It just... Throughout these last 3 episodes, and even the Genosha episode, it just shows that as humanity, as society, we tend to repeat ourselves. You know that thing that they say about psychopaths or people that are insane? Like, they do the same thing expecting different results.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about society and humanity sometimes, because things like this do... I mean, not, things like this, but... mistakes that they keep making over and over again keep happening, and they are expecting a different result. And unfortunately, this is a cartoon. Yes, it's a more adult cartoon, yes. But this cartoon has better suggestions on improving the real society than our real society does at the moment.
Yeah.
And that is so unfortunate, because our society needs to do better, just like the people, the character, the villains in these superhero shows and all of that. Just they need, and the people in these, they just need to do better. Like, respect that not everybody is the same, and if you are a decent human being and you are just trying to just be alive and feel the freedom of being alive, we could do so much together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're like killing people and stuff like that, that's something else, but it doesn't matter if we're different. We can all exist on this huge world. There's enough space for everybody.
Yep.
And our cats. Lots of cats.
Yeah. So the team is split now, obviously. So
Yeah.
some of them have gone off with Magneto. Most of them have stayed behind.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have the resources they need, so they go off to, I think it said Genosha then, it was Muir Island, I think it was, in Scotland. And they, for some reason, they don their old costumes.
Yeah. I didn't really remember why.
Yeah, I mean,
Just because it's cool.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, Storm's old
is
costume
cool.
looks good, and she was already wearing that.
Yeah.
Putting Cable in a yellow and blue X-Men uniform kind of reminded me a little bit of his costume in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which I think was a nice nod. But for the most part, I kind of... Well, no, Wolverine's brown and tan costume, the tan costume. Yes, definitely keep that. But the others, I could take or leave. Don't really care for Jean Grey's Marvel Girl costume. Morph, for some reason, has got big, like, shoulder pads. Okay. It would have been cool if he'd had his Age of Apocalypse costume with the purple cape. But, you know, I don't want to dwell on that too much. But, the team's then split in half, with half of them going after Bastion and then the other half going after Magneto to undo the damage he's done.
Yeah, and then there's a specific scene that I was just like, I remember, like, I went, shit. I think that's what I said, and I just held, like, my mouth was just in an O, because I was like, holy moly guacamole. And it was the Wolverine scene.
Yes. Yeah. Now, can I just say what a tactical error it was, taking the man with the metal skeleton to fight the Master of Magnetism. Yeah. He really should have gone after Bastion.
Yeah.
But he had a really good line where, because he sneaks up behind Magneto and essentially guts him. He impales him through the back. Looks like he's killed Magneto. Not quite. But he says to him, it's always the brave that die first, or something like that. And it's funny because that kind of mirrors a line that Magneto said in X-Men the Animated Series, where he's like, "You fools, it's always the bravest that are taken from us first." Whereas Wolverine says something like, "I've been in a lot of wars, bub," and etc., etc.
Yeah. But that just, it floored me a little bit.
Yeah, sudden, very sudden.
Yeah, because I wasn't, I never expected that, because Wolverine's a very good character. It's one of, like, I think the main selling points. But as you guys know, the adamantium is not what makes Wolverine.
No.
It helps.
Yeah.
But it does not make Wolverine. So we might see more from him in the next season.
Well, yes, because I suppose this episode ended with Magneto's response to being stabbed by Wolverine. It's him ripping the adamantium off his bones.
And remember, Wolverine regenerates.
Yes, he does heal, but he
was bad.
He was in a
bad way.
A very bad way. Yes, they took him out for the rest of the season, basically.
Yeah. An episode.
Yeah, an episode. Yeah. But meanwhile, the team are trying to fight Bastion and Mr. Sinister, but Mr. Sinister takes control of Cable, doesn't he? With because obviously he's the one that gave Cable the virus, the technovirus that he had to travel to the future to get cured from. See, X-Men stuff is complicated. I feel just kind of embarrassed a little bit explaining all of this.
I mean, I'm like, I should have really, like, paid more attention in school.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't feel embarrassed, but I do a little bit. I'm like, just shut up. I like it. Leave me alone.
I like it too. There's nothing wrong with liking it.
No, I know there isn't.
So let's go on to episode 10.
Yeah, all right. So final episode.
So in this, we're continuing. Our gotta stop Magneto at all costs type thing to
And
save
Bastion.
the world, and Bastion. I try to block Bastion out of my mind. The main thing I took away from this episode was the Charles and Magnus part of it. I thought that was so beautiful. And I remember tearing up a little bit because of the graphics that they use, like obviously the ocean, and it made me feel like that person, like there was like a real person telling me that story, and that's what was coming up in my mind I don't know if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. It's a relatable metaphor.
And
the tempest ocean inside of
Do you
him
want to
being.
explain it?
No, I just kind of did. The ocean inside of him is tempestuous, and there's a big storm inside of him because it represents his turmoil and his anguish from the trauma in his life.
Yeah.
And Professor X tries to get him to face his traumas, and he does not enjoy it.
Yeah, getting a bit personal here, but although I don't have my origin story is not like Magneto at all, but there's a lot of trauma there and stuff like that, and I'm just like, how can I cure my ocean? How can I settle my ocean? And then I start to think, oh my God, everybody's got an ocean inside of them, and then it kind of just gets me like, it is such a beautiful metaphor, like so beautiful. Like we all need to try to calm our ocean.
Yeah.
So it can be a smoother ride. And I don't think someone that has Magneto's backstory, unfortunately, word of the day, I don't think that ocean will ever be completely calm. Because it's unlikely that actually, I'm not going to say that because it is completely likely that he could go back in time because this is the X-Men.
Well, yeah. Spoilers for the end of the episode.
But it's unlikely that... I don't know if Magneto actually would.
What, change things so that he was different?
Yeah, because
he
I
probably
think
wouldn't.
Magneto doesn't necessarily like who he is when he's Magneto, but he understands that things happened, and in order to change, you can't just go back in time. You have to try to work it out in the present, even if it kills you.
Yeah, and speaking of the present, President Kelly is such a moron. An absolute moron. So he launches these nukes at Asteroid M. If it's Magneto genuinely up there, he's just going to turn them around and send them back at you, you simpleton. Even Captain America and Iron Man are there telling him, no, don't do this. It's not a good idea. But he just goes ahead and does it anyway. And surprise, surprise, they actually do get through because Magneto's incapacitated. But Asteroid M is now falling towards Earth, and it's going to bring about a new ice age. It's basically going to annihilate humanity. Well done, President Kelly. I'm not even going to bother. I was going to swear then. I decided not to.
No. Wheel out shit and damn.
Yeah. Fortunately, the X-Men do their best to use their abilities to try and slow it down. You've got Rogue outside trying to break it up and Storm generating weather to try and blow it back, which does not work. But fortunately, Professor X is able to get through to Magneto, and Magneto uses his powers to stabilize the asteroid.
Let's give it up for the creators of this show, whether that's the voice actors, the writers, the illustrators, all of that, because you could see the pain in these characters as they were trying to just destroy this huge asteroid. And I feel lucky to have been able to see it.
Yeah, and it's funny because you have characters like Cyclops and Beast who really can't do much, but they decide to stay behind anyway and try, even though they know it's going to kill them. They're like, yeah, I'm going to die, but I've got to do something. I can't just sit there and do nothing, which is very noble.
Good guys being good guys.
Yeah, meanwhile, Morph is kind of sat by Wolverine's sickbed going, please get better. I mean, what could Morph... Well, Morph could have turned into the Incredible Hulk and smashed it up. Yeah.
Hulk smash.
God damn it, Morph.
He was being moral support. Sometimes moral support is stronger than physical punching.
Yeah, this is true. But I suppose I kind of skipped over the fact that Bastion kind of tries to take over the asteroid, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I had a hope you wouldn't remember that.
Yeah, no, I did remember it. I kind of glossed over it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did like the talk that Storm had with him. Because it was Storm, wasn't it? I think it was. Or it might have been Cyclops, actually. Sorry, my memory's all jumbled because we watched this a little while ago. Surprise, surprise, this recording was delayed because of all the Cape Crusader stuff. But, they try fighting Bastion and they're not getting anywhere. So Cyclops says something along the lines of, we should do what the Professor would do, which is talk to him. which doesn't work. Surprise, surprise. But now that we've kind of covered that, moving on from Bastion, again, I'm going to feel a little embarrassed saying this. The X-Men and the asteroid disappear completely, and the X-Men get separated across time for some reason. This sounds like a drunk fever dream, doesn't it? So what happens is, there's this guy called Bastion who flies into the asteroid, and he's like, I really don't like being gay, and I'm going to smash up everything. They're like, you just have to accept who you are, Bastion. You can't help who you are, Bastion. And then the president shoots a nuke at them, and then they disappear through time.
Yeah.
Everything's funnier when you put it in like a faux Cockney accent.
Well, I can't do a Cockney accent. I just do my real accent, like area. Southern.
But they don't reveal who is responsible for sending them through time. They don't reveal why they don't all go to the same place. Cyclops and Jean go to the far future, where their son Nathan is, I guess he's probably about 10 years old at this time. The majority of the X-Men are sent back in time to the time of ancient Egypt. I should say it's Nightcrawler. Is it Nightcrawler? It's Nightcrawler, Rogue, Magneto, Beast, and Professor X.
Still no Gambit.
No Gambit. And they're in ancient Egypt, and they defend a mutant who's being attacked, and they say, oh, what is your name? And he goes, In Sabanur, which is Apocalypse, and everyone collectively shits their pants.
And that is the segue to season 2.
Yeah, but there's no sign of Morph or Wolverine, or didn't see Storm and Forge, did we?
We did see Forge.
Oh yeah, Forge didn't get sent in the future. Yes, that's right. Yes,
well,
that's right.
He did get sent in the future by.
Yeah, he didn't get sent into the past or whatever. Yeah. So Forge and Bishop then have got like a who's who board with pictures of like Colossus and Dazzler and Kitty Pryde, etc.
We love Dazzler,
and they're going to recruit a new X-Men. That's right. Sorry, my mistake.
We love Dazzler in this household.
Yeah, Mary loves Dazzler. And then obviously, they have the credits. And then there's the post-credit scene with Apocalypse in Genosha going, so much death. Sifting through the rubble, and he pulls out Gambit's Queen of Hearts card. Yeah. I think it was the Queen of Hearts.
And then I'm going to say it. You know what I'm going to say?
Go on then.
There's Gambit.
Yes. So nice little teaser there for Apocalypse reviving Gambit as one of his horsemen.
Yeah, the 4 horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Yeah, because in the comics, after Wolverine had his adamantium removed from his skeleton, he got his adamantium back through Apocalypse, and Apocalypse made him one of his horsemen. And he also did the same thing to Gambit, and Gambit would have like... he almost looked like he was a negative image, so his skin was really dark and his hair was really light, and he had like white eyes. Yeah, so I guess that's how they're going to bring Gambit back.
They better. I'm not joking. Disney, I'm going to tell you something right now. Just like my grandma would say, I'm going to tell you something right now. If Gambit's not coming back, I'm still going to watch it. And I'm probably still going to be really happy about it. But I'm going to give Evil Eyes once and one time only.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say about that.
But, if you couldn't tell, I mean, I know I've been kind of... not exactly joking, but just like saying the stuff that I did not enjoy and how silly a lot of this X-Men stuff is. I still really enjoyed this series. I love X-Men.
I loved it.
I think it's really good. It's convoluted. It's sometimes not at all subtle in its metaphors. And Magneto's dialogue is verbose and Shakespearean, and I really love it.
It was really great because I feel that, yes, it ended in 97, but it's come back as if it has aged like a fine wine. I don't know anything about wine. I don't drink wine. I think I've had a glass of wine one time and I didn't care for it, but I like the saying. It grew up and it showed a maturity that the original show didn't have, although it was mature content, like I said, masked by, mutants and stuff like that. And that to me it blows my mind, because I had high hopes for this, but things have disappointed me in the past. And fortunately, this did not disappoint, other than Bastion.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Mr. Sinister in it as well. There was when Jean essentially comes back from the dead as Phoenix, and she takes away all of the mutant powers that Sinister had stolen from other people, and he's just like this withered, scrotum-looking guy with sharp teeth. And he goes, "Oh, I need to see my face," and then Morph turns into him and fills him with dread. Yeah, I like that. I really like Mr. Sinister as well, even though I know he's not like a very good character. He's kind of he's really campy and evil, and but I like him. I like him a lot.
Say nothing else.
Yeah.
Say nothing else. I'm already hooked. You've caught me. You caught me at camp. You know I love camp.
Camp Sinister.
Yeah. No, I do. I love camp. I don't like Bastion, but I do like Sinister. Now, if Bastion probably would have been a bit more camp. Yeah, probably.
I thought he was really kind of camp.
Well, I don't. Not my kind of camp.
I mean, he's wandering around in his pink outfit, tying Magneto up in his pants.
Would he go see the Cara Delevingne cabaret with me on the West End?
He probably would.
And then
he'd say it was fabulous.
No. And then tell me all about The Wizard of Oz, just so we can go see Wicked, because I've not seen The Wizard of Oz.
Maybe.
And he and not just tell me about Wizard of Oz. There would be diagrams. I'm just saying. That's the kind of camp that I like. And Sinister totally could do it. Bastion, too self-centered to do it.
Now there's an image of Mr. Sinister sitting in Wicked, clapping along to the songs.
Oh God, could you imagine? That'd be awesome.
Delightful.
Not saying that all queer people are camp, by the way, but no. Sinister, camp.
Yeah, Sinister is very camp.
Yes. And I would want him to wear the cape.
Well, I'm glad we've cleared up that Mr. Sinister is very camp, and that feels like the perfect segue to move on.
The comment section!
Yeah, okay, so, all right, who have we got first? So we've got Screen Wiper. Hello, Screen Wiper.
Hey, Screen Wiper!
I've not seen X-Men 97 yet, but plan to begin soon, maybe this evening. Until I do, I can't watch these series of Totally Schway Flipside videos.
That's okay.
For now, I'm just commenting to boost your algorithmic edge weight.
Shut the I love you. Thank you. This is why you're one of my favorite people. Well, not the only reason. The other reason is the chickens.
Well, he's a kind person as well.
Yeah, obviously.
Moving to the next one, we have the latest epic from Big Mikey P, Michael Andre Parlon, who says,
I'm gonna fill up my Deadpool Wolverine popcorn tin.
So you can, yeah.
No, I say this every time, but I really, really like when Big Mikey P comments. But you're usually quite a fast talker, but you kind of slow it down when Big Mikey P.
It's because I need to make sure I don't trip over my words, because he will point it out when I do. Anyway, so getting to the comment. Gyrick shouldn't have been able to come near and do his deed against the over-optimistic Xavier. Thanagarians, Apocalyptians of the DCAU, and the accompanying Project Cadmus is greater than Marvel's 92131 Shi'ar and Kingpin conflicts, in my opinion, so I sympathise with you, Luke. Meanwhile, Game of Thrones grit was actually done first by Tolkien's Silmarillion and Unfinished Tales, which were also done first by a lot of myths all around the world. Forge is cool, but what about how his hyped-up X-Factor is now broken up off-screen? We need lore. Answers. Rogue's gone rogue. Yep, soon I'll be glad if she'll be pacified, for the wayward that she is would be karmic if it's Miss Captain Marvel who will do the sincere deed. I actually would love it in case, if X-Men the Animated Series is the rise and the glory days, then 97 shall be the fall of the titular heroes, complete with the rise of the new Avengers becomes Earth's mightiest heroes, for a new age, and also the bittersweet success of giving mutant rights a permanent foundation, even when the ones who fought for them have now either disbanded, retired, and or passed from this mortal coil. Meanwhile, gotta like how you Bayou guilds are in Gambit's funeral. Continuity lore fans...
Bayou.
Is that not what I said?
You said Bayou.
No, excuse me. Continuity lore fans would pretty much appreciate such an old The Animated Series Season 2 callback, and perhaps lore nut Dwayne McDuffie up above may be smiling. Must say Rogue versus Thaddeus Ross and Captain America bring to mind Superman versus Lex Luthor, General Hardcastle, and Emil Hamilton and Superman the Animated Series Legacy 2-parter. Seriously, if X-Men doesn't make this lead to the ever-climactic Avengers versus X-Men... I have to ask, Was the embedded Sentinel tech that was activated when Trask was thrown down by Rogue actually reverse-engineered from similar techno-organic advances in Spider-Man the Animated Series? Would make for a nice continuity cavalcade parallel to how the Darkheart became part of Luthoriak's plan in Justice League Unlimited Season 1 and 2, or how Galatea was born out of Supergirl's DNA from the aforementioned legacy.
So, I don't actually know this answer.
I do. It's completely unrelated. It's all Nimrod's tech. That's what they say in the episode anyway. Or at least they allude to it. Still, Rogue seems the wrong person to take out Trask in my eyes. After all, the Punisher, Chameleon and Deadpool exist. Maybe even a more obedient Ultron sponsored by S.H.I.E.L.D., S.W.O.R.D. and either Hank Pym, Giant Man, or Tony Stark, Iron Man. I don't know, I'm liking Bastion. I knew someone had to. A more successful antagonist like him is a very well-awaited change of pace from the kiddie-friendly foes like the Insidious Six, the Symbiote Threats, Venom and Carnage, the Brotherhood of Mutants, the Inner Circle Club, and other Earth 92131 foes. Still, even if he's possibly gay, I don't care, for he's still an antagonist. Remember Dilandau, Matt Hagen Clayface, Ragio Kiri Uin, and Nui Harime. Select, folks. No, I don't. I remember one of them. And that's Matt Hagen Clayface. But anyway, won't lie, Nightcrawler returning made me whoop with some mirth. Like Beast, he's one of those X-Men Spider-Man the Animated Series characters I never had too many nitpicks on, and that's saying something. 42 minutes and 8 seconds, speak of the devil. Actually, I don't mind Z's becoming Z's. Take, for example, the Z95 Headhunter. Obsolete Starfighter, though, would rather fight a Zarin-designed TIE Defender. Pronounced the Piccolo wrong, though. Well, what do I pronounce correctly?
Big Mikey P, are you American?
I don't think he is.
No?
I don't think so.
That's right, I just didn't know.
42 minutes 31. Darn, was expecting you guys to make commentary on that. I wish I knew what that was. To clarify, a butt pull is an out-of-nowhere story element with little or no proper foreshadowing and setup. A harsh example of Metal Gear Solid 4's nanomachines somehow explaining the supernatural and superhuman elements. If this didn't explain well, I recommend TV tropes for the bigger picture.
I'm such a child. I am such a child.
Yeah, it's like pulling it out of your ass. Yeah. In an animation perspective, the DCAU slamming things down with their original Tim style art worked better than just replicating Jim Lee's art on a low budget. Just saying. 45 minutes 52. I picked Aunt May because, the animated series iteration is a bit more naive for my tastes on Spider-Man. The best iterations are either Sam Raimi's or the Spider-Verse films. While Peter Parker is, because of the animated series iterations, wangstiest and selfishness. The sooner he either dies or is permanently retired, the better for a definitive Spidey to show up in the form of a hopefully well-raised clone Terry McGinnis. I mean, Ben O'Reilly. It's Ben Reilly, not O'Reilly. Now, I'm not exactly sure why I want Felicia Hardy to die, though. Why? But I exempted Mary Jane because of her being rescued from a long interdimensional limbo. I mean, that was kind of like a simile, for actually her being killed. But I know that they did say they were going to go and get her back. And she shows up in X-Men 97, so I guess he did get her back. 46-23, nailed it there, Luke. The hero's not actually saving the poor guy with everything they've got leaves a bad taste. Did you see any animated Batman and Superman ever abandon people who needed rescuing no matter what? Oh, and it was a space whale, the creature. I actually like the whimsical element in the episode. 4708, as in musical beats. Thanks, Mary.
You're welcome.
Actually, I'm doing timestamp for any viewer reader benefits, and also when I do revisit videos, don't dare do a Hitori Bocchi Goto. Luke.
It really helps with my ADHD as well, because I can't remember what I just said. So if I go back, on your timestamps, I can actually be like, "Oh, I said that. Oh, I said that."
It's been too long since I played Marvel vs. Capcom 2 to the point that I don't easily remember my preferred team rosters. 50 minutes 34. Simply put, hearing this made me squee as hard as one Luz Nokeda or Noah Izumi. I might recommend the 1981 Lord of the Rings radio drama Luke and Mary. Alas, alas, I bring news. The bad is that I once more have suspended my X-Men Spider-Man binge because my mind is not into it again. While the good is that I've switched my binges to one that explores good old Teen Titans, The Batman, Brave and the Bold, and even The Tick 1994 and Real Ghostbusters instead. So far, actually loving this change of plans.
I get like that sometimes, where it's just my mind is just not in the mood, and I just go back to Grey's Anatomy.
Or American Dad.
Or Justice League.
54 minutes and 52 seconds. I think it's pronounced lead for it being German and also the name of some grimdark and somewhat unfinished anime. Right, Mary, I can easily recommend Schindler's List. Feel free to ask about more similar movie recommendations too. 5555.
Bring them on.
What's the title in typed form? Perhaps it may actually be familiar, just renamed in foreign releases. I remember Lionel Barrymore as the love-to-hate Mr. Potter from It's a Wonderful Life. Days of Wine and Roses, isn't that the same director as the old Pink Panther films, The Great Race and The Party?
You know what?
Might be.
Yeah, it might be.
Not into American Dad and Family Guy, Futurama Seasons 1 to 4, SpongeBob SquarePants Season 1 to 4 and the movie. Duck Dodgers Season 1 to 2 are more my style.
I like American Dad and Family Guy because I mentioned the ADHD thing. I don't have to follow along as well as I do with other things. And that can just be a TV show that I have on in the background while I'm trying to sleep. And I'm not just trying to catch on to every little thing that they're saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll wait for Marvel animation news. Here's to hoping that announced Spidey cartoon will be as surprisingly good as Moon Girl. You know, I've not watched Moon Girl. I probably should. But I have yet to.
Don't know much about her.
Mm. I remember she was a good card in Marvel Snap, although I stopped playing Marvel Snap because I kept getting annoyed.
It's word.
Lowell Lucas Jr. Hello, how are you doing? Hope you're recovering from your surgery.
Oh, yeah.
And you've written a lot of comments, and I will read them because they're mostly short ones, so it should be okay. Came this way, it's totally Schway, sharing your favourites almost every Sunday. We've got Barbie and X-Men with comics too. Gonna get Barbie issues too.
Oh,
very good.
I love you.
Someone should write that as a song and then share it to us, and we'll play it.
If I was musically inclined, I would.
Yeah. If anyone in there, Scream Wiper, you're musically inclined, perhaps you can make a nice death metal version of that.
Make it sound like Christopher Lee, like, totally Schway. I can't do it.
Came this way, it's totally Schway. Sharing your favorites almost every Sunday. Yeah. We've got Batman and X-Men with comics too. Gonna get Barbie issue 2.
You don't sound like Christopher
Lee. Sound more like Christopher Lee than you do.
Oh, God, nobody said I sounded like it. They'd be like, who, what? Who is she?
Continuing Lower Lucas Jr.'s comment, personally, I like it when X-Men go to space. Well, someone's got to. Not only does it show how much of a powerhouse Xavier's children truly are, it expands their list of allies and enemies versus the ones they have on their home planet. From Scott's space pirate daddy to the Brood, it's awesome. Also, the team does get humbled by Gladiator and the other allies of the Shi'ar, so it all works out. Oh, Storm, heart emoji, saying this in her voice. Invoker of wisdom, commander of the vast skies, and able to send chills to all fans from all ages. No matter what iteration graces her presence, may we all continue to enjoy her triumph. I did not sound anything like Storm, I'm afraid.
We are Storm fans in this household.
I wonder if we'll get to see Miss Marvel in a future season as the Kree were briefly covered. Be nice if Rogue could reconnect with Sleeping Beauty and maybe lead to some Avengers team-up, one could hope. Sounds like you and Big Mikey P have got similar plans. I'm not going to lie, Bastion shaving Magnus felt like he's mocking and molesting him with that blade. I completely agree with you both that he's asserting control, right down to his favourite song, One-Eyed, One-Horned, Flying Purple People Eater, playing in the background. But yeah, this guy's a complete creep. Always hated him since the 98 comics, and especially after Onslaught. No one should feel sorry for that trash Trask after getting Operation Dumbo dropped by Rogue. That jerk-off had it coming. Besides, it's a lot better than the fate he received in the comics, where he dared to give the Sentinel sentience after their first act was turning on him by gang stomping into the ground. Yes, so the Sentinel... I mean, they touched upon this in X-Men animated series as well, when the Master Mold turns on the humans, and Trask says to him, like, what are you doing? He says, well, you told us to kill all the mutants, and mutants come from humans, so you're the same thing.
Yeah. You better not. That's what I say. That's the exact voice I say to Gilly when he's about to do something bad, and he literally looks at me, and I feel like that's kind of what should have been said in the scene. Like, you better not.
Yeah, shame, Master Mold. Right, okay, last comment then. So we have David Carney. Hello, David. Still haven't caught up fully with X-Men 97 as I have a backlog of shows to catch up with. I hope we will see Gambit becoming a member of Apocalypse's Horsemen. Do you think they will adapt Days of Future Past at some stage? I'm living in the UK, more precise, Cumbria. Love your content as always, Mary. Thanks, Luke.
Nice. I've not been to Cumbria, but I hear
No.
it has some nice things about it.
Yeah, to answer your question about Days of Future Past, they already did it in the original X-Men animated series, but they involved Bishop in it instead of... who was it that got sent back in time? Was it Kitty Pryde? I think it was Kitty Pryde.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time since I've read it. I think like 20 years, maybe longer. And I kind of conflate it with the episode in my mind with Bishop, and then there's the movie that we watched recently, didn't we, where they sent Wolverine back in time, and it's all jumbled together in my head.
We watched it when it first came out, but I've been on an X-Men kick.
Yeah,
as
sorry.
you guys can probably see. I'm the thing about this podcast is I'm taking you along with me and my hyperfixations. The only thing you're not seeing is the wholemeal waffles I make quite a lot and the hash browns that I eat. But yeah.
Perfect way to end the Brambly comment section.
So we will have another regularly scheduled episode in 2 weeks' time. And that one is going to be, again, X-Men kick. But it's going to be about the new Deadpool and Wolverine movie.
Yeah.
And it will have a ton of spoilers in it.
So you've got 2 weeks to watch it.
Yeah. It was really good. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you right now already. I loved it. No, I did love it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was sat next to you. You were squealing throughout all of it, going, "Oh my god!
Oh my god!" And I was clapping. I know. Who cares? But yeah, do you have anything else left to say?
No, just to say that, just a reminder with the Cape Crusader episodes coming out, it is quite a lot of effort to record 10 individual episodes that are going to drop all on the same day. But, hopefully you guys will watch Cape Crusader, listen to what we have to say, and then have a fun conversation with us about it. Yeah. I think you guys are going to enjoy Cape Crusader anyway.
Okay, we could tell them why we're doing this. We can do the real reason. It's because I want to be in the second season of Cape Crusader.
Well.
I can change my voice ever so slightly.
Yeah. Hello, I am the Riddler. Hey, diddle diddle, time for a riddle.
Could I please be the Mad Hatter? Please. Or Batmite.
Oh, that would be quite good, actually. Yeah.
I could be Robin.
I'd say I'm your biggest fan.
I am your biggest fan.
That's what Batmite says
I
to
know.
Batman.
I was making
I'm your biggest
funny.
fan.
I'm
Anyway.
your biggest fan. Okay, so Warner Brothers, if you're listening, I'm just kidding. Not really. How can we end this now?
I think we can just say goodbye to everyone.
I love you guys. Thank you so much. We've been recording so much recently that I'm just need to take a break with my voice. Love you so much. Hope you have a great time. And if you don't, remember, you can always comment on this and I will probably comment back.
We should just say, go Schway.
Yeah.